All right, so we just went over how increasing government spending could close a recessionary gap. Now let's look at how decreasing taxes could also close the recessionary gap. So remember that the number that we got for the government spending, to close the gap of 200 billion, we would need to increase government spending by 40 billion because of the spending multiplier, which is 1 over MBS. So now we're going to be using the tax multiplier. So the tax multiplier is negative MPC over MPS. And the reason that it's negative is because we are always going to be decreasing taxes. So we always want a negative number here. And now if we already know what the spending multiplier is, we can use this shortcut, which is 1 minus the spending multiplier. Same thing. So again, the question is, what decrease in taxes will increase output by 200? Lowering taxes will lead to an increase in everyone's disposable income, which will lead to an increase in consumption. And a decrease in taxes is subject to the multiplier effect. So we already know how to get the multiplier. We know that MPC is 0.8. If you know MPC, you know MPS. So that means that it's going to be negative 0.8 over 0.2. So negative 0.8 over 0.2 is negative 4. And if we want to double check that, we will remember that our spending multiplier was 0.2. I'm sorry, our spending multiplier was 5. Remember, we did that before. And 1 minus our spending multiplier, 1 minus 5 is negative 4, and that checks out. So now we're ready to do the calculations. So same type of calculation on this side, on the left side of the equal sign, is going to be where we want to go. So we know that we want an increase here. We don't know what tax decrease we need, but we do know our tax multiplier. So we can fill in the blanks. So we know that the change in output is 200, and we know that the tax multiplier is negative 4. So we're going to rearrange and solve for t. So that means it's 200 divided by negative 4, which is negative 50. So that means a $50 billion tax decrease, because it's negative. This is not a negative number. You didn't do it right. So a $50 billion tax decrease will lead to an increase in output of 200 billion. All right? So to summarize, if our output is 1,000 and our potential output is 1,200, when the MPC is 0.8, there's a recessionary gap. You can either have an increase in government spending of 40 billion or a decrease in taxes of 50 billion, and that will move the economy to equilibrium at full employment, ceteris paribus, everything else remaining equal. And yes, you could do a combination of these two, but I'm not going to ask you to figure that out. All right, so to double check it, here we have our equation. If we fill in all the blanks, it leads to 200, right? So this is the initial thing that we solved. $40 billion increase in spending, subject to the spending multiplier. 40 times 5 is 200. Or the tax multiplier. So again, here we figured out a negative $50 billion in taxes times the tax multiplier, 200. All right? So I'm going to stop there, and then we're going to talk about the simple Keynesian model expanded.